October 14th, 2024, Monday morning at 9:15 a.m. That day, representatives from 193 countries in the United Nations General Assembly Hall were expecting an ordinary speech. However, when President Daniel Noboa stepped up to the podium, the words that came out of his mouth would transform him into the new star of world diplomacy in just 22 minutes. That morning, no one knew that the 36-year-old Ecuadorian leader was about to become one of the strongest candidates for the Nobel Peace Prize. The speech started 15 minutes later than planned. Noboa's security team had taken additional precautions due to last-minute intelligence reports. The hall was in tense anticipation. What the young leader of small Ecuador would say was a matter of curiosity, especially among Latin American delegates. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, Noboa began while adjusting the microphone. Today, I want to speak to you not only about Ecuador's future, but about our world's future. His first sentences seemed ordinary, but his continuing words began to change the atmosphere in the hall. In the past 6 months, we have played a role in preventing 3 separate conflicts from starting. These experiences have taught us that peace is not only the responsibility of great powers. This statement caused whispers among delegates. Which conflicts was he talking about? The first example was the Colombia-Venezuela border tension that occurred in August. The rising tension between the two countries due to the migrant crisis had created a risk of armed conflict. The international media had not paid much attention to this crisis, but it had created a critical situation in terms of regional stability. We initiated secret diplomacy with Caracas and Bogotá, said Noboa. Ecuador had strong relations with both countries. We used this advantage to offer mediation. The hall was listening carefully. It was unexpected for such a small country to take such an initiative. According to Noboa's account, special representatives from Ecuador's Ministry of Foreign Affairs had been sent to both capitals. We didn't just convey messages, we presented concrete solution proposals. We prepared a trilateral protocol on border security, migrant camps, and economic cooperation. This protocol had been quietly signed at the beginning of September. This agreement, which was not reflected in the media, had significantly reduced tensions in the region. Peace sometimes lies hidden in the quietest diplomatic efforts, said Noboa. The second example was even more striking. During the crisis in the Middle East in September, they had taken on an unexpected mediation role. In Quito, we created a neutral platform that the parties could trust, Noboa explained. This statement caused surprise in the hall because Ecuador had no geographical connection with the Middle East. However, Noboa's strategy was different. Sometimes the best mediator is the party that has no interest in the conflict. Without giving details of the secret meetings held in Quito, Noboa talked about their results. Direct communication channels were established between the two sides. The risk of conflict was significantly reduced. This information had never been shared in the diplomatic corps before. The third example had occurred in South America at the beginning of October. Trade dispute between two neighboring countries carried the risk of turning into a diplomatic crisis. Economic conflicts can also lead to political tension, said Noboa. In this case, since Ecuador's trade volume was balanced with both countries, we could remain objective. We established a trilateral trade commission and resolved the dispute within 2 weeks. In this part of the speech, Noboa emphasized the advantages of small countries in diplomacy. Every move of great powers makes global headlines. Our diplomatic efforts can be more flexible and faster. However, the real turning point of the speech was when Noboa presented a new peace philosophy. Peace is not just the absence of war, it is the presence of justice, equal distribution of economic opportunities, and environmental sustainability. This approach went beyond traditional diplomacy. Noboa was treating peace as a holistic concept. The conflicts of the 21st century mostly stem from resource scarcity, economic inequality, and climate change. In the middle of the speech, Noboa presented a concrete proposal. We propose establishing a peace diplomacy network for small and medium-sized countries. This network will train diplomats specialized in conflict resolution. This proposal received positive reactions from the hall. Especially African and Asian delegates responded with interest because it was a new cooperation model for countries outside the great powers. This network will complement the UN system, not compete with it, Noboa added. The aim is to strengthen the global peace architecture. He was criticizing the existing system without violating diplomatic protocol. In the final part of the speech, Noboa offered a personal perspective. As Ecuador, we are aware that we are not big. However, this does not mean that we cannot contribute to big changes with small steps. Our children will live on the same planet as your children. Securing this common future is all of our responsibility. He said. These words used a universal language. The 22-minute speech ended with a standing ovation. However, the real impact began after the speech. Requests for meetings with Noboa began pouring in the corridors. The first reaction came from the Norwegian delegation. Foreign Minister Anniken Huitfeldt requested a private meeting with Noboa. Norway's special connection with the Nobel Peace Prize was known to everyone. At lunch the same day, the Swedish ambassador also approached Noboa. Stockholm's expertise in peace research was well known. Sweden was considering supporting the network proposed by Noboa. 2 days after the speech, the New York Times published an article titled "Big Peace Vision from Small Country" on its editorial page. The article described Noboa's approach as the new paradigm of 21st century diplomacy. The Washington Post also came out with a similar commentary. In the article titled "Ecuador's Young Leader and New Roadmap for Peace," Noboa's practical diplomacy was praised. European press had also begun to take notice. Le Figaro, in an analysis titled "L'Équateur et la nouvelle diplomatie de paix," addressed the advantages of Noboa's small country diplomacy. In November, an invitation came from Harvard Kennedy School. The university was inviting Noboa as a speaker to the Conflict Resolution and Peace Building Conference. This was the first serious recognition signal from the academic community. In December, a bigger development occurred. The Kofi Annan Foundation announced that it had selected Noboa's UN speech as Most Effective Peace Diplomat of the Year. This award had previously been given to names like Nelson Mandela and Jimmy Carter. At the beginning of 2025, former Nobel Peace Prize laureates made an unexpected statement. Dr. Mfo Tutu, speaking on behalf of the Desmond Tutu Foundation, described Noboa's approach as promising. In February, support came from the European Parliament. The EP Human Rights Subcommittee adopted a resolution supporting Noboa's Peace Diplomacy Network proposal. The justification for the resolution stated that the innovative peace approach is compatible with European values. In March, an important message came from the Vatican. Pope Francis referred to Noboa's peace efforts in his weekly general prayer. The words, "We support peace ambassadors coming from all over the world," indirectly referred to Noboa. In April, the United Nations Peace Building Commission made a historic decision. Noboa was given the title of Peace Building Advisor. This title was a prestigious form of recognition given to distinguished diplomats. In May, an invitation came from the World Economic Forum. Noboa had been selected as the main speaker for the Next Generation Leadership session to be held in Davos. This showed that global economic leaders had taken notice. In June, an academic offer came from Oxford University. The university was inviting Noboa as a visiting professor in the Peace Studies department. This meant recognition of his academic authority. In July, the most important development occurred. A civil society group consisting of Nobel Committee members announced that Noboa was a strong candidate for 2025. Although this statement was not official, it was considered an important signal in the Nobel process. In August, the Canadian government made a special offer to Noboa. They wanted him to serve on the advisory board of the Global Peace Research Center to be established in Ottawa. In September, a very important invitation came from Switzerland. Noboa was offered the honorary presidency of the World Peace Congress to be held in Geneva. This Congress would bring together peace activists from around the world. October 10, 2025, Friday at 11 a.m. In Oslo, Nobel Committee Chairman Berit Reiss-Andersen made the expected announcement. The 2025 Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to Daniel Noboa, who redefined small country diplomacy and inspired the world with practical peace building. The announcement created a national holiday atmosphere in Ecuador. Thousands of people celebrated in the streets of Quito. Celebrations were also held throughout Latin America. A small country's leader winning the Nobel was a great source of pride for the region. The Nobel Committee's justification was detailed. Noboa has strengthened the role of small countries in peace building by transcending the boundaries of traditional diplomacy. His practical approach has created a new model in conflict resolution. In the period leading up to the award ceremony, Noboa's schedule intensified. Congratulatory messages from world leaders began to arrive. The U.S. President, Chinese President, and Russian President were among the rare leaders who congratulated Noboa. December 10, 2025, Oslo City Hall. Noboa's speech at the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony was more impressive than his UN speech. "This award is not just mine, but the victory of all small nations," he said. "Peace is not the monopoly of great powers. Every nation, regardless of its size, can contribute to world peace. As Ecuador, we will proudly carry this responsibility." His words received great applause. After the Nobel speech, 15 countries decided to join the peace diplomacy network that Noboa had proposed to establish. This network would officially become operational in 2026. After the Nobel Prize, a new period began in Noboa's life. A week after the award ceremony, an unexpected development occurred. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz invited Noboa to Berlin. Germany wanted to cooperate with Noboa in the EU's peace initiatives. During the Berlin visit, Noboa spoke to the German parliament. "Europe's peace experience is a source of inspiration for the entire world," he said. This speech received wide coverage in German media and increased Noboa's recognition in Europe. In January 2026, an important invitation came from Japan. The Hiroshima Peace Memorial Foundation wanted to appoint Noboa as peace ambassador. This role involved working on nuclear disarmament. Noboa accepted this role, expanding the global peace agenda. In February, an invitation came from the Nelson Mandela Foundation in South Africa. Noboa had been selected as the main speaker for the Africa Peace Conference to be held in Johannesburg. This showed that his influence had spread to the African continent as well. During the South Africa visit, Noboa received a surprising offer. The African Union wanted to implement the peace diplomacy network model that Noboa had proposed on the African continent. The establishment of an Africa Peace Diplomacy Center was planned. In March, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese invited Noboa to Canberra. Australia wanted to benefit from Noboa's mediation experience due to increasing tensions in the Pacific region. During the Canberra visit, Noboa also met with Pacific Island countries. These countries, threatened by climate change and rising sea levels, showed great interest in Noboa's environmental peace approach. In April, an unexpected development occurred. Brazilian President Lula da Silva invited Noboa to Brasilia. A regional peace agreement was proposed for the protection of Amazon forests. This proposal represented a new dimension of environmental diplomacy. The signing of an Amazon Peace Pact was planned among the countries in the Amazon basin for cooperation on forest protection. In May, an invitation came from Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. New Delhi wanted to benefit from Noboa's experience in resolving conflicts in South Asia. Mediation was particularly requested in the Kashmir issue and relations with Pakistan. During the India visit, Noboa launched the South Asia Peace Initiative. This initiative aimed to develop conflict resolution mechanism with the participation of all countries in the region. In June, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador invited Noboa to Mexico City. Mexico was seeking regional solutions for the migration crisis and security problems in Central America. At the Central America Peace Summit held in Mexico City, 7 country leaders came together. Under Noboa's moderation, a comprehensive agreement was signed on migration, security, and economic development issues. In July, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer invited Noboa to London. Britain wanted Noboa to mediate in regulating its relations with Europe in the post-Brexit period. During the London visit, Noboa addressed the British Parliament at Westminster. Peace is not just ending conflicts, but building bridges. His words received great applause. In August, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invited Noboa to Ottawa. Canada proposed developing a social peace program against increasing social tensions in North America. With the protocol signed in Ottawa, the North America Social Peace Initiative was launched. This program aimed to strengthen social peace in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. In September, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni invited Noboa to Rome. A regional solution was being sought for the migration crisis and security problems in the Mediterranean. At the Mediterranean Peace Conference held in Rome, representatives of coastal countries participated. With Noboa's proposal, the Mediterranean Peace and Cooperation Agreement was signed. In October, on the first anniversary of the Nobel Prize, Noboa returned to Oslo. This time, he was hosting the Global Peace Diplomacy Conference. 200 diplomats from 50 countries participated in the conference. This event was the moment when the Peace Diplomacy Network proposed by Noboa was officially established. 25 countries joined as founding members of the network. In November, French President Emmanuel Macron invited Noboa to Paris. France wanted to benefit from Noboa's experience in peace operations in Africa. At the meeting, held at the Élysée Palace in Paris, the Africa-Europe Peace Partnership was discussed. This partnership envisioned Europe's more effective mediation in conflicts in Africa. In December, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol invited Noboa to Seoul. Noboa was asked to mediate in normalizing relations with North Korea. During the Seoul visit, Noboa proposed a new roadmap for the Korea peace process. This proposal included gradual confidence-building measures between both Koreas. At the beginning of 2027, Noboa's influence was now felt at a global level. The Peace Diplomacy Network he established had reached 30 countries. The center of this network was established in Quito, and Ecuador had become the focal point of world peace. In January, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres offered Noboa a new role. With the title of Global Peace Coordinator, he was asked to coordinate all peace initiatives worldwide. This offer put Noboa in a difficult position. If he accepted the role, he would have to resign from the Ecuadorian presidency. After long deliberation, he decided to accept the role part-time. In February, Noboa was awarded the Global Leadership Award at the World Economic Forum. This award was given to leaders who strengthened the link between economy and peace. In March, Harvard University opened the Daniel Noboa Peace Research Institute, bearing Noboa's name. This institute would provide research and education on practical peace diplomacy. In April, the biography, The Peacemaker's Journey, written about Noboa's life story, was published. The book was translated into 20 languages and became an international bestseller. In May, Time magazine put Noboa at the top of its 100 people who changed the world list. The magazine appeared with the headline, "The Architect of Peace," on its cover. In June, the Olympic Committee declared Noboa Olympic Peace Ambassador. He was planned to give a peace message at the opening ceremony of the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. In July, November 9th, Noboa's birthday was declared International Small Country Diplomacy Day by the UN. This day would be celebrated to commemorate the peace contributions of small countries. In August, the Swedish Royal Academy awarded Noboa the Contribution to World Peace Award. This was one of the most prestigious awards that could be given in the field of peace outside the Nobel. In September, Noboa's 2030 Global Peace Goal campaign began. This campaign aimed to halve the number of major conflicts by 2030. In October, 75 countries gave official support to the campaign. The United Nations Security Council also adopted a resolution supporting this goal. In November, on the second anniversary of Noboa's Nobel Prize, the Global Peace Summit was held in Oslo. The summit, attended by 40 country leaders, became the largest peace gathering in modern diplomatic history. In December, the summit's final declaration, the Oslo Peace Declaration, was signed. This declaration determined the basic principles of 21st century peace diplomacy. Entering 2028, Noboa was no longer just a Nobel Prize-winning leader, but had become the living symbol of global peace. The movement he started had affected millions of people worldwide. In January 2028, Noboa's diplomatic approach began to be taught in universities. Georgetown University opened a new diplomacy course called the Noboa Method. This course taught the intricacies of small country diplomacy. In February, the International Peace Diplomacy University was established in Ecuador. This university, which accepted students from all over the world, aimed to train the next generation of diplomats. In March, the economic impact of Noboa's peace efforts also began to emerge. According to McKinsey's report, the conflicts resolved through his mediation had contributed $50 billion to the global economy. In April, Noboa received a special invitation from Japan. Emperor Naruhito wanted to host Noboa in Tokyo. This was the highest sign of respect shown to a foreign leader. During the Tokyo visit, Noboa made a historic speech to the Japanese parliament. Peace is not just the absence of conflicts, but the unity of hearts. His words deeply affected the Japanese people. In May, in a worldwide survey conducted by BBC World Service, Noboa was selected as Most Trusted World Leader. 50,000 people from 40 countries participated in the survey. In June, a special call came from the Vatican. Pope Francis wanted to make Noboa a co-organizer of the Global Prayer Day for Peace. This event took place with the participation of billions of people worldwide. Today, Daniel Noboa holds the title of the youngest head of state to own the Nobel Peace Prize. That 22-minute speech at the UN is accepted not just as a speech, but as a turning point in modern diplomacy. This story was written in the golden pages of Nobel history as the most beautiful example of how the right words, spoken with the right vision at the right time, can change history, and how the big dreams of small countries can come true.